Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and it is Sunday, which means it's Soul Sunday. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, welcome. And if you choose to just sit and listen to this or just watch it go down, that is absolutely fine with us. Just want to let you know that on Sundays, on our Soul Sunday broadcast, we take the pace right down. And the reason that we do this is twofold. Number one, we want to get everybody feeling nice and peaceful and at peace with themselves, ready for the coming week. But also, the Soul Sunday broadcasts get put into a playlist so that if anybody is having trouble sleeping, they know they can go to that playlist and just listen to the voice tone, which will hopefully help them sleep. Having said that, if you happen to have turned on this particular vlog and you are about to drive or do something like that, please do not play this while you're driving. I would hate to think that I'd sent you to sleep. All right, so today we're going to be talking about inspiring yourself. And the reason for that, hi Judy, the reason for that is because so many of us wait for somebody else to inspire us. And quite honestly, it is something that we are capable of doing for ourselves. We were discussing on Friday about we have the ability to make ourselves laugh. Today, in today's reality, we just have to go to YouTube and turn on some pretty well-known comedians, and we know that we're going to be laughing in no time at all. However, the same is true if you want to get inspired or if you want to calm down or whatever. I think I start my day with being so grateful for all that we have in today's technology, where we can do all these things. And for those of you who don't know, I'm in the process of selling my house, and I have another showing tomorrow, which means that by this time tomorrow, my whole house will have to be spick and span, and it's not at the moment. But I got a few things already planned between now and tomorrow. So the reality is I get to choose how stressed out I want to get. That'll be in direct proportion to what time I allow myself to go to bed. And I've now got this little routine that I go through the house, and I do certain things the night before and other things I do in the morning. So I've got this little routine going. There were a couple of things in the news in the last 24 hours that I really want to make mention of. The tornado that went through Oklahoma, I am hoping and praying that Coco is okay in Oklahoma, for those of you who go back that far. But one of the things that I heard about was a man who actually survived the tornado by doing something as simple as to lie down next to his bed. And I thought that was a really interesting reality. The roof, he was in a motel, and he decided to lie down next to his bed. And the roof did come crashing down. But because he was so close to the bed, the angle of the wood built him a little lean-to, if you like, and he survived. And so I was thinking about that. That's a really interesting thing to inspire us all to think about. If there were a tornado, if there was something going on like that, where would you go and why? And so I would ask you all to think about that. The other thing was, I read about a young man, a teenager, who, when he heard the tornado was coming, didn't think of himself. He thought about one of his neighbors who was in a wheelchair. And that touched my soul because I have a number of my viewers who are wheelchair bound. And this teenager ran to that man's house and got him in his wheelchair and ran him to safety. I didn't read where he took him, but he ran him literally to safety. Now, I can imagine his mom was probably going, no, you need to look after yourself. And he said, no, I need to go and help him. And I was thinking, how inspired are you by that story? How many of you would think of the other person before you thought of yourself in terms of survival? And that you would think who close to you or around you, would need your help. And I found that very inspiring. And I immediately started to think, is there anybody in my immediate neighbor range right now that I would want to be concerned about, other than the fact that everybody, obviously. And so I just thought that was really inspired my soul, that there's still teenagers around that will think of other people before themselves. Good for him. I hope he gets some sort of award for that. And then the third thing that I heard about, obviously, was about the lady, and I don't know how many of you heard the story about the lady who got lost in the forest in Maui. And the lady in the forest, a couple of things to know about her. Number one, she is a yoga instructor, which, if you think about it, means that she was fairly calm as a person, right? She'd spent her life teaching yoga. And so she automatically had that advantage. The second thing about her was that she had survival skills training, and I can't remember why. But she went out for a run and for some reason took a wrong turn and ended up lost. And she didn't get lost for a day or two or a week. She was missing for over 2 weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but something told me that the greatest thing about this story is that she didn't give up. Oh, did I mention that she managed to break a bone in her foot at the same time? So she ended up, I'm not quite sure how she did that, but she was unable to walk well. And so there were so many things going against her, stuck in that heavy canopy of the Maui forest. Forest. And I did check to see how they found her. And there was a helicopter. So somebody didn't let up on the helicopter going out to look for her, which after 2 weeks was pretty impressive. And she managed to position herself somewhere near a waterfall where there was a bit of a valley, a canyon type situation. And after 2 weeks, the helicopter was coming towards that area, and she ran out, waving her hands, ran out, hopped out probably because of her foot. But what I really want you to think about was, how did she do that? There she was injured, lost, no food, no water, and the odds are against her. And what I thought about was the thing she did was get smart, not stupid. And I think that is what I want to really impress upon you all. She thought back to all her survival training and remembered, how many days she could live without water. So the first thing she wanted to find was a good water source. And the second thing was that she knew which berries she could eat. Linda, I just want to take a second here. Your younger son, Paul. Okay. Linda, is there any way that you can hold on during this broadcast, or are you needing this right now? And the reason I say that is because that is pretty important stuff. But first of all, yeah. Linda, luckily, again, is it okay for me to talk about this, Linda? I don't normally interrupt this Soul Sunday broadcast with stuff, but this is really important. So, okay. Linda's just told me that her youngest son has found out his school friend just committed suicide. The most important thing is that Paul understands that this has nothing to do with him. And so those are the words that I would make sure he hears regularly. You know, he has no reason to feel guilt or that he wasn't a good enough friend or whatever. And the second thing I would do is get him to write about the friendship. What he valued about his friend and what he, you know, what his fondest memories are when they got into trouble together. You know, there's so many things that are memories that are good for him to get down on paper. And is the friend local? I mean, is Paul going to be able to get to the funeral? I would do everything I could to make that possible for him if he wants to do that. If he wants to go to the funeral, I would make sure that, you know, it's easy for him to go. It's easy for him to get the right clothes to wear. You know, I would make sure that I did what I could to make that a possibility. I think part of the grieving process is to be there at the funeral if he can. And if he wants to. If he doesn't want to, then obviously not. But yes, you've offered to take him. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? And plus, you know, help him. He won't want to decide about, you know, you might want to say to him, hey, do you want me to help you sort out the clothes and things and get them washed for you or whatever? Tell me what I can do to make this, you know, a more simple process. It's not going to be easy. The other thing, Linda, is I would probably ask for his forgiveness. And the reason I say that is because somewhere during the course of the next few days and weeks, you're probably going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And what I would do is I would sit him down and look him in the eyes and say, I'm going to do everything I can to honor you and your feelings and to help you through this. But because I'm a human being, I might be overprotective. I might be this, that, and the other. And I want to apologize for that right now. But I just want you to know my intent is to help you as best I can and be there for you. Now, the fact that this is the second person that has done this doesn't make it easier or better. I can remember, Linda, I went to go and talk to a school where there had been a couple of suicides. And one of the thing I was deeply concerned with was the survivors. Right? And I was deeply concerned for the survivors and the fact that they might feel some guilt level. And I just said to them, you know, maybe this is a time for you all to talk to your friends and let them know honestly, yeah, how you're feeling. And because now you feel what it's like to be a survivor, not knowing that somebody was in trouble. Because I'm pretty sure if you'd known that this person was in trouble, you would have done something to help them. And the other thing that I would tell Paul is that any of his friends, you know, if they are talking that sort of stuff, that he needs to get help for them. You know, he needs to tell you, or he needs to tell, you know, somebody who can get them help. I literally heard about one person one day when somebody was visiting me and they got a text, Linda, and they said they were about to commit suicide. And I grabbed the phone, and then I grabbed my phone and I found the police and I said, I have just got a visitor in my house. Somebody has just said they're about to commit suicide. This is the number that text came from. By the way, please make sure that the person knows that the person they text did not phone you. I did. You see, sometimes yeah, Linda, sometimes we just need to understand we need to do the best we can. And it's like any grieving, Linda, you want to make sure Paul is safe, right? And that Paul's friends who are left are safe. Yeah. Linda, I've always said that all these things that come to us in our lives are there to teach us something. So I would start keeping a diary of how you feel with what's happening to your son. I wonder if that makes sense. Like I'm feeling helpless because I don't know how to help him. Or I'm feeling frustrated. Why didn't that young man tell somebody? The same. It's important stuff to talk it out, and I would encourage you to write it out if you can. I've been doing. Yeah, Linda's saying that the young man, sat at her kitchen table many times, and she gave him so many hugs. Yes, but again, Linda, I don't believe in coincidences. I'm talking today about inspiring ourselves. And one of the things that I want to make sure everybody understands is we can't fix everybody else. All right. I always say to people who write and thank me for what I did to help them, and I keep telling them, I didn't do it. You did it. I try to give you some hope. I try to give you a pathway, some options, but you are the one that did it. I didn't. And whilst I thank you for thanking me and the peeps, the truth is you did this for yourself. And that is why I want people to understand that we cannot fix somebody who doesn't want to be fixed. You cannot save somebody who cannot find it within themselves to have hope. And, some people reach the depths of their depression and never make it out. And some people literally hit the bottom and crawl their way out again. And so, I look at Nyasha in the room at the moment, and, the space that she was in, she could have been without help, but she kept looking to find somebody she could understand. I find that fascinating, right? That she wanted to get better. And therefore she found us. All right, so Linda's saying, I sat in my garden today crying. My neighbor came out. He lost his son the same way. It's just left you so low. Okay, so Linda, get some words around it, if you will, honey. First of all, feel my hug. Just get some words. You feel low, or do you feel sad? What is, low as in, I sense that you wish you could have done something. Is that what I'm feeling correctly? When you're sitting there crying, what are you crying about? And I want you to get really brutally honest with yourself. Because unless we really get to that emotion, the correct emotion, you won't be able to, get out of it as quickly and get through it as quickly and be able to help Paul. Because this is not your stuff. 3 young men have taken their lives. Okay, that's what made you sad. I think it would make anybody sad. But, oh, yeah, I guess I need to turn that down a bit. Nearly dropped my coffee there. Whoa, that was difficult. I forgot to turn the volume down on my... I just turned the volume down on my headset, but I hope it hasn't turned down the volume on my audio. Let me know if it did. I don't need another shock like that one. All right. Sorry. So I'm thinking, Linda, that anybody in that situation, right? If I had heard about 3 young men that I knew that had lost their lives, I would be pretty sad as well. So the number one thing for you is to understand it's okay to be sad. It's okay for Paul to be sad. It's okay. It's okay for, thank you, Jody. It's okay for you to feel, all right? The main thing is that I would beg you to feel the feeling and then remind yourself the reality, all right? I feel devastated that 3 young men have lost their lives. However, I am so grateful it wasn't Paul, right? I think if you can just add in something for which you're grateful. Yes. Yeah, you know something, Neasha? I was pretty sure that you understood what I was talking about. Yes, you had gone numb. Yeah, I understand that totally. Good, that's good to hear. That was going to be the next thing I talked about. Once I sort of got you well. And Linda, if you find that you're in that hole for too long and you can't get yourself out, give yourself the same rules that you give to other people, Linda. It's okay to grieve for 10 minutes. After that, I need to pick myself up and get on with my day. And then, an hour later, it's okay to grieve for 10 minutes. But, just to make sure that you can control it. Does that make sense? And get Paul to do the same thing for himself. It's okay to feel sad, but try and limit it to 10 minutes and then do something else for a while and then, go back and be sad again. So, Linda, you have inspired so many of the viewers with your 10-minute rule. And I think you might be able to use this to help yourself, to inspire yourself and Paul. So there's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with feeling helpless, because you are helpless. You were unable to do anything because you didn't know. If you had known, you probably would have taken some action. If Paul had known, would he have taken action? I think I'd ask him that. Did he know that they were at risk? And to make sure that Paul stays really honest with you about how he's doing, because you don't want him to end up at risk because survivor guilt can be a big thing. I think the fact that his doctor told him to get some, it's going to refer him, is a very good idea. If you find that you can't control your grief to 10 minutes a day, I would get some help as well. And you can write to me anytime, Linda. You do know that, right? And even though I'm busy doing what I'm doing at the moment, I will do everything I can to get back to you as soon as I can. And so this is going to be a trigger for anybody else that listens to this who has lost somebody to suicide. Or lost anybody to anything, because grief is grief. It doesn't matter the method. It is terrible. And, I can feel it in myself, Linda, just even talking about it. As I think I lost my best friend when I was 18. She was strapped into a car. She was strapped into a car and, the seatbelt, and they couldn't get her out because of the seatbelt. I did the seatbelt up. It was in the days when they just started having a seatbelt. So, just even talking about this brings that memory back to me. And that's also perfectly normal. And that's what I want to tell the viewers. If you're feeling this at a very deep level and you've lost somebody, you will get those waves of loss back again. And that is, it'll happen for the rest of your life to some degree. So keep him talking, definitely. Keep telling him it had nothing to do with him. Yes, there you go. So Beth is saying triggered, but it's good to be triggered and to be able to get out of it. Having the tools to rise above is key. Yes. And that's what Nyasha, did as well. She kept looking until she found somebody that could give her the keys. Absolutely. If Paul wants to write to me, I would be delighted to chat, or if he wants to do a one-on-one with me, I would be delighted to talk to him. I think he knows, that I would be there. Why would I not, right? He's family now. So Beth, I thank you for that, because you are right. This is a form of trigger. We've been talking about triggers this week, and it just triggers us at so many different levels, doesn't it? So the one thing I always try and work at is, yes, it's really sad, but but I am so grateful it wasn't closer to me. But it is close to you, Linda, and it is close to Paul. So that is very important. People have asked me a lot over the years, how do I hear these things and not get tied into them? When I say tied into them, how do I, manage to, if I can use your words, Beth, rise above them? I think the way that I do that is to remind myself I can feel the sadness, but I don't have to dwell on it. I can feel the sadness. I can cry along with the rest of you, right? But I don't have to spend the next 5 days in it or the next 10 days in it. I just need to be able to feel. The day that I can't feel that, I'd be more worried. Right. Now, Niesha's making a very valid point. She said, Mama Sal, most people don't want to come forward because of the judgment of others. I know that because I was there. The main important thing is to keep in mind is to find the right people to talk to. Yes. And that is the whole thing. You do need to find people that you can relate to. In my time, Niasha, when I was in deep depression, found a couple of therapists along the way that I did not relate to at all. They were arrogant, and they really, I think, their ability to help me was zero. You know what I mean? They just didn't relate at all. They were condescending, and they were, what can I say? They just treated me like I was an idiot. And guess what? I treated them like idiots back. So I'm sorry to laugh, but, I remember it well. I remember saying to one of them, and you studied to be this bad at being a therapist. That must be quite something to have studied and actually got past exams in it. And really, you have zero ability to relate. Sadness isn't the reason for suicide, says Beth. It's a symptom of something much deeper. But they didn't know how to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, which is the hope I was going to talk about today, Beth. That's exactly what my topic is today, is about this lady who had this happen in Maui. Do you understand? She kept saying that she had two choices, that one was to die and the other was to live. Nyasha, when she was in deep depression, she had the same choices. Anybody who's been anywhere close to what Paul's friend has felt knows that it's always a choice. You choose to live or not. And the thing that keeps most people living is a hope. So the greatest gift that we can teach people, if it's possible, the greatest gift we can give any human being in pain is hope. Does that make sense? It happens on a daily basis. It really does happen on a daily basis. I found out, and I want to talk about this because I think it's important for everybody to see that this cycle of loss is going on all over the place. You know, I've been doing so well, for example, with my eating and keeping my sugars under control. And I've been so proud of myself for what I've done. And then, of course, I started to have the stress of selling the house, and I chewed my nails for want of other things to eat. I chewed my nails. I started to crave sugar. And then I started to beat up on myself because, you know, I put back 3 pounds, and I also, my blood sugar has gone up. And I want to thank Jody and Lauren as well, you know, who talked to me a lot about the diabetes side of it. And the most interesting thing was that I love the fact that, you know, Jody has this ability to remind me how well I'm doing. And I'm going, no, but I'm not, Jody. I've just put on 3 pounds and, you know, my blood sugar's out of whack. And, you know, but Jody's right. And you know how I know she's right is because I keep checking the reality. Remember that we talk a lot about, you know, remember to deal in reality. And I'm just going to get the reality up for you so you can see why I know that Jody is right. This is still my graph. Okay. And as you can see, you know, I'm still going down. I might have had a blip up, but really this is still going down. It's not doing this, right? It's going down. And so what I have is a temporary blip. And all right, let me read here what Linda has said. I can't imagine where your mind has to be to do it, Sal. I've been down. I want to tell you, I've contemplated it. And your mind really loses hope. You wonder, I don't know what Nyasha would tell you on this one, but for me, it was for a split second, I gave up on myself, on my ability to be able to cope. Would I ever get out of depression? You know, was I stuck taking these stupid pills forever? I you know, and not only that, everything that I tried to do was not going right. And, you know, all you need to do, I think in 1 week, Linda, I had 5 of the major stresses in life. You know, there is a scale that psychiatrists work with, and there's certain things that are high on the scale in terms of stresses. And I had 5 of them. The top 5 hit me in 1 week. No, I lie, in 2 weeks. Included the death of my mother. I was in a life-threatening situation. You know, you understand? There were 5 major stresses that will. Oh, my relationship with my love of my life broke down without any warning. 1 minute I was in a relationship, the next minute he was gone. You know, it was just incredible. And so I knew that was dangerous, you know, to have 5 hit me in 1 week. And that's why I went and sought out help. And I went to my doctor and I said, I need help. And he goes, you're doing fine. I said, you're not hearing me. I need help. And, you know, that's the important thing that Paul needs to understand. It's okay. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not one of weakness. He does need to talk this out. He does need to feel it. He does need to deal with it as best he can and to get over it in his own time, right? There is no, anybody tells him, you know, you shouldn't still be upset. Okay, so Jody is busy saying that, you know, you've been able to maintain a significant amount of control considering the stress you've been under. You know something, Jody, well, I totally appreciate what you're saying. There's that reality part of me that says it's still an excuse. You know, it used to be the excuse why I smoked, but I don't smoke anymore. I've given up using stress as my excuse for smoking. So what I'm dealing with right now, Jody, is I don't have a good excuse for what I did. I did what I did because I wasn't handling the stress well. And therefore, I need to take control, and only I can do it. I can't expect you to keep propping me up every morning when I take my blood sugar. It's not going to help. I need to help myself. And so, Linda, you're saying maybe I just sat crying for the loss of a young life. Maybe, or that was what you did. You see, take the maybe out of it. And it's okay to have that sadness, knowing that that's not going to make anything better, right? It's not going to save the next one by you crying. You may want to, form a local, I don't know if this is very local to you, if these are young men in your own environment here. But, a lot of people deal with this by grouping together and going, okay, that's 3, that's enough. What do we have to do for these young men? What is missing? We need to talk to these young men and find out what's happening, because somewhere they are missing hope. And, maybe maybe they don't have faith. Right, Nyasha, I agree with you. And that, Nyasha says suicide comes from her perspective when no one takes the time to listen to your issues and the problem. That's where being overwhelmed comes in, and the weight it is left on your shoulders. Right, and listen to this, Beth saying, I found some hope through my interactions with others. When I isolated, you will never see how life can be, right? Even at your lowest, there's always something that you will see that will bring hope and joy. And that's why my subject for today was about inspire yourself. You see, I give full credit to Nyasha because she knew she was in trouble and she didn't have the resources that we would have here in North America. And she got help anyway. I don't know about you, but that's called wow. And, when I went to go and talk to the young people at the school where they'd had a number of suicides, I really spoke to them about be a friend. If your friend is beginning to sound down and beginning to sound lonely and nobody likes me and, what's the point? And when you start hearing those things, start acting. Taking them out and go to a movie and laugh. Start doing things to help them see there is hope. Maybe for some people it's like, okay, no problem, Linda. Thank you for letting us know. So it's really important to be a friend. And, Nyasha, I would say that that's what you needed, was a friend. And, it's funny because in my, one of the companies that I started in my life was, I called a friend in need. Right? I called it a friend in need because I know that we all have that time when you could really do with a friend. Not everybody wants to go to therapy. They just need a friend. And a friend listens, and a friend hopefully doesn't judge too much. So, but a really good friend, won't let you dwell in it for 10 years either. Makes sense. So this is called, we have to look at both sides if we choose to of this issue. So let me carry on with the broadcast, and if Linda gets back, we'll get back onto this. But Dolly Parton said, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another. Which is exactly what Nyasha did. She didn't like what was happening to her, how she was feeling. And so she actually, hi, Benji. She actually went out of her way to find help to get her to see differently. Yes, and you needed to be listened to, and we all do. I'm delighted that Benji's here, because I think one of the things that Benji will tell you that the reason that I was heartbroken to let go of the trailer, it's going to make me, the reason selling the trailer broke my heart was because all of the things that young people had told me in that trailer. And so to me, it was like those walls had heard so many incredible stories, and that was the difficulty for me. But that's a good thing, right? I would not give away one of those hours of listening. And it was really funny because, everybody's always said, God, she never stops talking. But there are a lot of people who also know I spent an awful lot of time listening. And so to me, Nyasha, I understand that I think we all want to be listened to. Oh, yeah. Benji's saying amazing hours and sometimes nights too. Yes. Sometimes days and nights. I can remember, it was so bad one year that I had somebody checking my vitals, and they actually said, you have to stop helping people for 24 hours. You need rest. You haven't slept. And that's what you need to do. You need to get some rest. Otherwise, you won't be able to help others. I'm looking because Yvonne's bringing me. Thank you, Yvonne. Could you bring me one of those fat straws out of me? Like the fat one? Yeah, I like the fat straw. Is it my phone? I was going to do that, but. So the whole point, though, if I think of all the people that I've listened to, all the young people and older people too, the one thing that most people are looking for is another option. They've run out of options. That's what happens. Thank you so much, honey. They enjoy yours. Enjoy yours. I don't have one. You don't have one. You were well behaved. Yes. Papa will share his. He wants it really bad. Papa wants his, and then he feeds it half to me. So you go get some. Wow, that's interesting. Benji saying that's got to be the most remembered trailer in the history of mankind. All those young people's memories, yes, they will remember forever, and they remind me. I assure you, Benji. But I thank you, Benji, for being here, because it's important that people understand that even when you think, and I heard some horror stories, I don't mind telling you. I heard horror stories from young people whose parents probably never knew what was going on with their child. And so that's why I'm saying the greatest gift you can give your children, and I love it when I watch Benji and Judy do this with the children, is to hear them out. You can see that they're really frustrated. And to hear them out, I love it when I hear Benji or Judy say to the children, can you put some words around that? You've got words now. So let's just have the tantrum. Let's hear the words. What's happening? And if you teach your children to do that, the chances that they will end up in trouble are very few and far between. How many of you grew up where you were told, toughen up, or boys don't cry, or whatever it is you were told? The truth is, I don't think we did a great deal for people's mental health. Helen Keller said that the most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. And so, the same way as Paul saying that he wanted my information so he could contact me, you got to know that I can feel that at a heart level. That means that somewhere along the line, we touched a soul through our work that's very meaningful. And so to me, again, I say it time and time again, we will never know the people we touch. And that's probably a good thing, because it would probably break our hearts if we knew how many were in pain. So the greatest gift you can give anybody is hope. But the way that they get hope is by, as Nyasha said, as being able to talk about what's going on for them and not to be judged for it. And that somebody holds their hand for a step or two until they're strong on their own. I keep thinking about that lady stuck in the Hawaiian forest. Do you know how many times she must have made that decision to carry on trying to feed herself with the berries or to go and get water? She must have made that decision so many times a day, every day, when it would have been easier just to curl up and give in to the fact that she was injured, alone, and nobody had found her in 2 weeks. What were the chances they were going to still keep looking? I think a lot of people would have given up hope after a couple of days, probably after a week for sure. And yet she didn't give up hope. She kept saying, I choose to live. Okay, so Linda's saying, Paul has just said, thank you, Sal. Big hugs, Paul. He knows that if I can't help, somebody else will try. Thank you, Sal. And that makes him feel he won't have to go into that situation. You tell Paul he's a smart cookie. Please tell him from me. That is smart cookie thinking. If mom can't help me, plan B. How many times have you heard me say that, Linda? Don't have a plan A, have a plan B and C. Okay, so give him, he's got plan B now. And by the way, make sure that he's got that, he goes to get help if he needs it, his plan C, or maybe I'm plan C. You see, if you've got 3 options lined up, oh, hi, Paul. I'm so sad, Paul. Paul, so make sure you've always got options in your life, right? It's when you feel you don't have any options that life overwhelms you. So well done. And Paul, it's okay to cry. I want to tell you that it's okay to cry. It'll probably stop you having a heart attack one day. I think one of the biggest things I say to men is, whoever taught you that grown men don't cry is, I don't care if you go to the shower and cry there. There are ways to cry, but, crying is really good for you. Linda, the fact you went outside and had a cry, I think the fact that you can say that in front of your son is wonderful. Mind you, it's an important thing. There are places to do this. There are places to scream if you need to, Paul. There's an ad, or a couple of ads actually at the moment, about the Mayo Clinic. I don't know if you have them in England, but in each case there is a young person or youngish person in one case, but one is definitely a teenager type. And you can just see them at a beach and they are screaming. And then you realize as the advertisement goes on that the reason they're screaming is they've obviously been diagnosed by something that, is pretty scary. And they needed that primal scream. They needed to let that out. I really admire anybody that understands that these things are good for you. It's good if you are really hurting that madly. A good idea to get into a forest somewhere and really let rip with a scream, or very lonely, secluded beach somewhere and let go with a scream. Try not to do. I'm going to say this, but me, I got to laugh when I think about it because Try not to do it with too many people around. And because, the, the response may not be what you're looking for, right? Some people may think that you need to be attended to, let's put it that way. But, it's a really good thing to do. If you are capable of driving a car, go park it somewhere, away from human nature, down a quiet road somewhere, and just scream inside the car, because, most of the noise will be kept within the car. It's a very healthy thing to do. It's called a primal scream. And it releases so much of the negative stuff in your body. The other thing, Paul, if you're still listening, I would really start doing something to occupy part of your brain. I'm not sure what your hobbies are, but if you like writing music, I'd write some music, because music will help balance your brain. If you like to draw, or do pottery, or do whatever, do something that uses your hands and your mind, your creativity, because it will help balance you. I was talking on Friday about the anger I felt, that anybody would offer me such a ridiculously low price for my house. And yet, when I found out the truth of the matter, that was the only amount that they had. And then I was angry about, well, why would you go looking at a house valued at my house's value if you only have this much money? And then I said, that is a real estate problem. Why did the realtor allow this to happen? And then I found out the wife was the realtor. So this was just a game, I think, that they play. I later found out that some other things about them, and I think it's just like some people just play that game. And so there wasn't any advantage to getting angry, which is why I didn't stay there for more than a split second. And then I went, you can't blame them for trying. It didn't work. So look at this and say, if we know that life is a series of baby steps, good idea to go for a walk. Well done, Paul. You heard me. Yes, and if you can go for a walk where it's quiet, it would be even better, next to a river, or I don't know if you've got a park somewhere that's not going to be too busy. Mind you, it's later at night, so just, as Mother Hen in me wants you to be careful, but I'll try not to go there. Okay. Look after each other, please. Thank you, Linda. And Paul, big hugs to you, honey. And please hug your mom. She needs it too. So life is a series of baby steps, all right? What we do to give ourselves hope. And so I want to say, if any of you have ever been betrayed, and I'm certain most of us have at some time in our lives, one of the things that happens is that you sort of lose trust in everybody for a split second. Have any of you ever felt that? One person betrays you and suddenly your trust level of everybody goes down. Because you're hyper vigilant about protecting yourself. Until you remember something that Lucille Ball said, and she said, love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. You see, Nyasha loved herself enough to get help. Even though she was hearing she was a waste of skin and she'd never do anything right, she didn't believe that. You see, she had hope that there was more. Now, I think this next one is one that I really relate to, and I wonder if any of you know where the quote comes from. And the quote is, lead from the heart, not the head. Do any of you know who was responsible for that quote? And I say that because it came from Princess Diana. There are so many times in your life that intellectually you understand this, and this, but you forget to make decisions based on your heart and soul. You can see that intellectually, and the smart people would probably do A, B, and C. But I can assure you there have been a lot of times in my life where I knew that's what smart people would do, and I chose not to do it because I wanted to make sure that I kept true to my values, not other people's. When people said to me, well, Sal, it's just the cost of doing business, I go, no, it isn't. That is an excuse for the way you want to treat people. The truth is your character will come out in every decision that you make, and you will show other people who you are by every decision that you make. And I can assure you that sometimes those decisions are not easy. It's easier to go with the flow, if you like, of what the other people are doing. And one of the things that I notice so much these days is that we are losing so much of our integrity and character. Everything has become so self-centered. It's like one giant selfie going on all the time where we just don't think enough about other people. I think this is, unfortunately, I don't know who gave this quote, but it's worth listening to. And it says, wherever life plants you, bloom with grace. So many of you have asked, what am I going to do when I sell the house? You see, I do believe I'm going to sell the house. I have that hope. But, I keep saying to you, I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about it because I believe that when I sell the house, the right place for me will be shown to me. Because I know that God's working on it. I don't have to worry too much. I know what's available in the market because I check it regularly, but, I don't have to worry about which one. And you see, if I don't have to think of it, if you think about this one, some people will get all tied up, well, it has to be the perfect place for me. No, it doesn't. It just needs to be the next one. Because you understand everything changes. I believe the same as when I bought this house. I inherited Yvonne and her son, Cody. And I didn't know it when I inherited them, but we had work to do together, right? We had learning to do together, and we did. and so 20 years later, I am so glad that, I planted my roots right here and that I started to bloom here. And so did Yvonne. And so did Cody. Now, listen to this quote, and I thought this was a wonderful one. Don't give it 5 minutes if you're not going to give it 5 years. Now, I've got a feeling, if Benji is still with us, that Benji will totally relate to this one. Don't give it 5 minutes if you're not prepared to give it 5 years. All right, so hang on. Let me just, just remind me to tell you who said that quote. All right, I'm just reading here. Beth saying, amen. I distrust the company I work for. I should not have repeated that, sorry. Yes, I want to tell you something, Beth, that I used to get into a lot of trouble when I worked with corporations because, I kept hearing, the price of doing business, and I'd go, no, you're still damaging people. And if you can't see that, that's your right, but, I don't get it. Yes, Jodie's saying that's a French proverb, the bloom with grace quote. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? So I don't have to worry where God puts me next. There's going to be a reason. So Benji, do you agree with that? If you're not going to give it 5 years, don't spend 5 minutes. The reason I say that, I remember a friend of mine, his girlfriend got breast cancer and it was severe. And he phoned me and said, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, let me tell you something, that if you don't have the sphericals, if you don't have the character to stick with her the whole way through this, regardless of the outcome, leave now. Do not give her the hope that you're going to be there through the tough time if you can't handle it. Leave now. It'll be kinder to her. I don't know if any of you understand what I'm getting at, because, you know, when you are going through tough times, and we all have, right? The people that are there for you in the tough times are your friends. They might not be perfect, you know, all the rest of the time, but you need to know you've got a couple of people where when the brown stuff hits the fan, you know who's going to be there for you, right? And right, so Nyasha's saying, I believed in myself. That's exactly what we're getting to. Yeah, inspire yourself, right? Others were counting me out, but I knew better. All my life, I did things differently, but they didn't see that. Yeah, that's right, Nyasha. They just saw you as less than. And so I am delighted that, you know, you could hang on to the fact that you knew that you were worth saving. So that quote about don't give it 5 minutes if you're not going to give it 5 years came from Meghan Markle, now the Duchess of Sussex. So that was interesting. And how about the obvious one now, which is what comes easy won't last long. What lasts long won't come easy. Well, I don't actually believe that either. If you have faith, I believe that you can have both. So every day is not a success, and every year is not a success. You have to celebrate the good. Remember what I said about the weight thing, right? This is like, you know, we've talked about this many times, that, you know, an airplane going from A to B doesn't get there in a straight line. My weight loss is coming down, but it's not coming down in a straight line. It's having blips along the way. But if you look at it, the blips going up were much bigger. And what I'm doing is having a lifestyle change. And now I, you know, I notice the error more quickly. And that is the thing. So now, you know, I plateaued for a while, and then stress hit me and I just started to eat, and I can see it now. And I can forgive myself and go, okay, that's what you did. You know why? It's just an excuse. And Benji has this wonderful expression that he uses. That's the story you tell yourself, right? And, you know, it's like I was saying, you know, in the old days, it was the story as to why I smoked was because, you know, well, I was stressed out and that's why I smoked. And you see, the good news is, and the reason I am celebrating myself is I have not smoked again, which would be a real test of my stress management, having fallen down. You know, the nails grow again. You know, put on 2 pounds. I am capable of losing 2 pounds again and more. But, you know, if I start smoking again, I don't even want to talk about that. And unfortunately, I don't have the person who said this either, but isn't it wonderful? It says, no one is you, and that is your superpower. You know, I look at all of you. Beth, who would have had the courage to do what you did to protect your staff members the way that you did? Not many people. You see, most people would go with the flow and just go, well, it's, you know, it's the way that they do it here. No, you called it for what it was. That takes huge character. But doesn't make you friends. You know, the famous thing about this is, well, nobody got hurt along the way. Well, yes, a lot of people got hurt along the way. And you could see that. And that's why you did something about it. And I am so proud of you for standing up for what is right as opposed to what is easy. And I want to tell you that is probably to my mind, one of the greatest things about sleeping well at night is, you did what was right, not what was easy. And, the other thing is that when I was saying about it's so easy for me to tell myself the story that the reason I went to the fridge and ate the wrong food is because I'm under stress. Well, hello, no, I lost control is the reason why. The same way is, how many, we were talking on Friday about being late, all right? The reason most people are late is because they haven't planned things properly. They haven't left early enough. It's not because everybody else is to blame. You didn't leave enough time to be on time is the answer. Or you didn't give it enough time. The same thing as that, if you don't give it 5 minutes, you're trying to do tasks that take half an hour in 5 minutes. And you leave them to the last minute. And when you do that, how many people do you punish? That's the scary thing. How many people do you punish by doing that, right? That you don't bother to plan it out. Well, I got it done anyway. At what cost is what I ask. At what cost to the people around you? Reba McEntire, country singer, said to succeed in life, you need 3 things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. And again, one of the things that I keep reminding myself is to remember to laugh, right? And whatever it takes, go watch something to make you laugh. Or remember to love. Every now and then I will intentionally watch the Hallmark movies to remember to feel the love. And, I watch them and I'm going, I can't believe they actually made this movie, But, it's not about Oscar winning. It's about the principle of it. That, that people can be, not getting on at the start and then end up in a lifelong relationship or whatever. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Benji, if you are still here, this one's for you. And by the way, Oprah said that. The biggest adventure you can live is to live the life of your dreams. I remember when I met Benji many, many years ago now, one of the questions that I asked him, because I asked almost everybody in his age group the same question, what is your dream? What is it you want to do? And, I have to keep asking him the question because he achieves his dreams faster than most people. And so, I've got into the habit of keep asking him. And by the way, I noticed that he also asked Judy that question as well, what's her next dream? Because that's really what life is about, is to have a dream and work towards it. And I want you to remember that that's what friends do for friends, right? They ask them, what's your dream? And if you can do that, if you can ask people that, what's your dream? Then you can help them achieve dreams. Or you can remind them, hey, your dream was never X, Y, and Z. This was your dream. And, because sometimes we forget what the dream was. Well, the emotion I felt around the trailer was because I just knew how many souls we had saved. I think I'd have to word it that way, in that trailer. And then you got past all that sadness and that hurt, and you got through to, well, what do you want to do? Now that we got through that, what is it you really like to do? And I think the greatest gift that I have is how many people do I know that told me their dreams, and I have, over the years, heard from them that they achieved them already. It's amazing. And so, as I think about Linda and Paul walking at the moment, I think about this quote, and it said, the best time for new beginnings is now. You know, whatever you haven't achieved in your life, it's okay. You were learning. Remember what I said is that everything that is affecting my emotion now is part of my learning, right? That's what I'm looking at this year. What affects my emotion? What takes me out of peace and into anger or into frustration? Every one of those things is worth looking at well, because every one of them is there to teach me something. It's either teaching me that you know, I'm being controlling, or I'm teaching me that I expect other people to behave the way that I would, or you know, whatever it is, but it's all there to teach me something. And when I can see that every single day I'm going to need to remind myself the best time to start again is now, right? There was part of me that goes, you know, when I got the call, which is somebody wants to see your house tomorrow, yeah, at 1:30, and I'm going, means I got to get up, you know, but I'm going, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to sell my house. I am selling my house. So the answer is yes. Fine. And so, you know, if I didn't have hope that the house will sell, I could act differently. I'd rather have 2 days' notice, not one. And how about from Martin Luther King? Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? What are you doing for others? And, you know, this is the time when I thank Jody and Lauren, if she's around, but, you know, because without their help, not only in the broadcast, but during the week, you know, I probably wouldn't get as much done in terms of doing Dear Mama Sal, but they are always there to support me in what it is that I want to do next. And I thank you for that. The other thing is that somebody once said to me that if just one person believes in you, if one person believes in you, you cannot fail. And I believe the reason that is true is because if one person believes in you, you will have hope. And remember what I said about that young man, that when the tornado was coming towards Oklahoma, he didn't think about himself. He thought about somebody that he knew that was in a wheelchair, this older man, and he ran to save him. You see, that is character. Yeah, that Jody, that's cute. Jody, of course, is saying thank you as well, Sal, for your support. Yes, life is a two-way trade. It's very rarely one way. And I love this quote for some of you. It's time to start listening to Michael Jordan, who said, I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed. Don't ever look at a failure as anything but a stepping stone towards success, right? At least you tried and you've learned how it doesn't work. That is a plus. And Maya Angelou, who you know I quote quite regularly, said, nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. I love that. And you know, some days, if you're human, you know, maybe the light's pretty dim. You know, there's some days where I'm going, my light's not shining very well today. But if that is true, if I do have a day when the light's not shining very brightly, maybe I should turn on the switch. Okay? Maybe I just forgot to turn on the switch. And the switch would be, I forgot to be grateful. I forgot who my friends are, that, you know, I need to reach out. You know, they'll probably cheer me up or bring me back to reality, or, you know, give me some hope that I didn't have. Because success is about doing what you need to do, to get where you want to go. Benji's saying, turn on the switch. You make it sound so easy. Yeah, well, something, Benji, it isn't. And everybody in this room knows that it isn't. But I think you would agree with me. Yeah, exactly. But it is true, right? We need to be responsible. I still, I go back to your expression, and I'm not sure where you found that one, but I love it. And I quote it often now, which is, that's the story you tell yourself, because it is an excuse, right? And the reason I put on weight is not some mysterious thing. The reason I put it back on again was because I ate ice cream bars and imperial mints. And why did I do that? Well, because I was stressed. Well, why did I eat those things? Because I didn't have the self-discipline to not eat them. Why? Because I wasn't in total control. That's how I look at it now, right? My stress was in control, not me. So what do you do to get control back? You turn on the switch and ask yourself, do I really want this in my life? Is this a brick I want? No. Then let me turn on the switch and get control back. Margaret Lawrence said, it is not what we have in life, but who we have in our lives that matters. Not what, who. If you can look at the people in your life and be grateful for them and go, you know something? I value these people more in my life than I can imagine. Then you are a happy person. I really do believe that the who in your life will save you, right, from the bad times. And we've all, as I said, had really bad times. One of the greatest goals I've always had about doing DearMamaSal was really just to explain to people that this is life. It's not a dress rehearsal. This is life. We're all going through good times and bad times. Even Benji, right? It's not easy. I think one of the things that I look at, you've heard me say so many times, it's not easy being a superstar. It's not easy being an icon of some sort. People think, oh yeah, they're so lucky. That's not luck. That's hard work. Believe you me. But they love it and want it and love it, and that is what amazes me is how sane they've remained through it all. So now, how about this one? I like this. This is like one day or day one. It's your decision. Right? It's like, turn the page. Let's start again. I can choose. Yvonne bought me this Frosty. I know that's got ice cream in it. Now, does my life mean I can't eat ice cream? No, it just means be careful what else I'm going to eat today. Because that's got stuff in it that's going to raise my blood sugar. So if I want to balance my blood sugar out, I need to be a little more careful. Now, when I think about what I'm cooking for dinner, that's not quite as easy, except it's about how much am I going to eat for dinner. If I have just a little bit of what I'm cooking for dinner, I'll be just fine. If I have 3 helpings of it, which I will be tempted to, not so much. So this one this one is the story of my life. Embrace the glorious mess that you are. You see, I think when you can truly appreciate, you may not be perfect and you may be a mess, but you are a glorious mess. And you are doing your best. I really believe that. I believe that every day you get up and you don't plan to be a bozo and you don't plan to make a mistake. And well, sometimes you accidentally do. But the truth is, every day we get up hoping, that it's going to be a good day. And the truth is, we make that decision by what we do. If we go back to the turn on the switch, it depends which switches we turn on. It was really funny. I wouldn't have thought about it, but Yvonne said to me, she came up to tell me something, and she brought a reminder that my car insurance is coming up. And I said, oh, thank you very much indeed. But that's going to get hucked into a box somewhere. And then she said, don't forget to cancel your insurance on the trailer. The insurance on the trailer. But then I thought about it, I've already done that. Now, what she said was, if you're in the States, it's called AAA, but I have what they call BCAA here, which was special traveling and coverage for my trailer, like a AAA coverage. And that's what I need to make sure I don't pay for this year. Sad as it may be. If every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day. Right? Keep switching things around. It wasn't good that somebody wasted time, my time and my realtor's time and Yvonne's time and everybody's time about, putting in a bid that was, not going to be accepted. But, they did. And it wasn't a good thing, but it helped me realize that, that it's going to happen. I need not to expect an intelligent bid all the time. Some people really don't think that way. And this is truly magical. It comes from Dr. Seuss, of course, and we did a whole program on him. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. And that I would have to say was so true of all the memories I built with the trailer. That at the time, I knew they were important, but I guess I really didn't ever feel how important they were until they became a memory. When I could look back and remember the pain that young person was in and how they had changed their lives in different ways since then. And that to me was, magical. And to have known that I was part of that obviously felt really good. And this one is so true for a lot of you. Difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Niasha, I think about you and wanting to learn how to cook so that you can better look after yourself. How are you doing on that one? Because I think that's a difficult road for somebody who has limited vision. But the joy in actually being able to do it, must be magical for you. And so I really encourage you to keep on that path for two reasons. Number one, you are going to be so proud of yourself, and it will give you hope to what else you can achieve. But it's not going to be an easy road because you've got parents who don't want you to do that, right? Because you make a mess or whatever. So the road is not going to be easy, but don't let that stop you. You know that your very survival could be based on whether or not you can cook for yourself. So think about that. It's important. And hopefully your parents will understand that as well. And Carol Burnett said, only I can change my life. No one can do it for me. No one can do it for me, which is why I had such delight to hear Nyasha do what she has done for herself. Nyasha, I was thinking that the lady who got lost in Hawaii in the forest, she was a yoga instructor. And I was thinking, yoga might be a better thing for you to learn to get your exercise in certain ways, because it is really quite calm, and you don't need fancy equipment or anything for it, but it will help you keep your muscles stretched and working well. And also, it would be a form of meditation to help you lower your stress level. And, Beth, I was thinking about the fact that, as you go through, this incredible promotion and this training that they're going to give you, I think your integrity will be challenged in some ways. And the thing is to find balance between it. All right. There you go. You see, Nyasha saying thank you to Benji too, because I saw his meals and it got me into cooking again. Yes, I think Benji has got an awful lot of people into cooking again. And he makes it look so easy, right? He really does. I've had the privilege of being in the room when he gets ready to prepare a meal. And, I just sit there in wonder. I want to tell you, it is a wonder to watch him, Nyasha. Yeah. He literally measures everything out and has it ready before he turns on the stove, right? Everything is measured out to the right degree and everything is ready to go. Therefore, he doesn't make a mess, Nyasha, because he's never in a hurry to quickly, add this or whatever. He knows it's all there perfectly done. It's magical to watch him. And then, it's just like, and when he finishes, to him, the meal isn't finished until he's cleaned up after himself. Okay? To him, it's all part of the same process. I think I've seen an awful lot of people wash up pots and pans, but Benji has incredibly beautiful pots and pans, and he treats them that way, right? To him, cooking is not about throwing some stuff together. To him, it is an art, and it includes the preparation, and it includes, if you like, I think about it in terms of any art, right? You got to get the paints ready. You've got to have the canvas ready, and then you've got to clean up the mess afterwards. And it's a total process. It's wonderful to watch. So Nyasha, carry on watching his videos and carry on trying out your version of his meals. But remember, watch carefully at the beginning, Nyasha. Watch how prepared he is before he even starts. And that'll help you make less mess. All right, everybody, I need to go and cook now. And funny enough, I know this sounds like a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. I'm actually going to cook some chicken the way that Benji taught me to cook chicken. And it was one of my fond memories very early on when I knew him and before I found out that he was a cook, a chef rather than a cook. And, it was really funny because we were at a function and it was one of those things where everybody potluck thing. And he arrived with this chicken that looked quite normal. And then he barbecued it. And there was nothing normal about what I was eating. And it was so tasty. And I remember saying, "What did you do to this chicken?" And he said, "Not much." But I learned the lesson. The not much was to marinate it in soy sauce and lime, and then to barbecue it with the skin on. Now, whether you choose to eat the skin or not is your choice, but to actually, barbecue it with the skin on, because, when that goes crispy, it'll be awesome. And then I thought, it's been a while since I've cooked anything that I know Yvonne really enjoys. So I'm going to do mac and cheese on the side for Yvonne. And now my decision will be, how much mac and cheese do I have, or do I make myself a salad to go with the chicken? Now you all know what's going to happen. But how much will be the choice. All right, everybody. So here on Soul Sunday, I wish you all a peaceful week as best you can. Obviously, for Linda and Paul, it's going to be a challenging week in a lot of ways, but they also will choose how much. Isabel, great to see you. I don't think I've even given you a hello today, but I want you to know I did notice you come in, and I do appreciate the fact that you're here. And how are you doing? For those of you who might have missed it, our Andrea in Berlin got herself married on Friday. And I love the fact that she sent a photo. So if you haven't checked the Facebook page, I put it up. It was amazing that she sent me a photo within hours of getting married. Within 24 hours, I had that photograph. And I thought, isn't that kind of her? She knows that I would want to see it. And then she put in the thing when she sent it, this is da-da-da. And by the way, yes, you can share it. And I thought, how thoughtful on two levels. Number one, that she sent it, and she knew that my next question would be, may I share it? And the answer was yes. So everybody, please look after yourselves this week. Life is going to send you a few challenges if it's normal. And just keep very solid on what it is you want to do with your life. We don't know how much time we have left. What we do know is we control how we fill each day to some degree. And I understand life gets in the way of some of those things. Remember to plan as much as you can to have enough time to do the things without stress. Remember to have hope. Because if we have hope, then eventually somebody will find us, as that lady in Maui demonstrated. If she had let go of hope, she would be dead today. The reason she is alive is that she didn't give up believing that somebody would find her. Her job was to stay alive until they did. And you can imagine the mental game she had to play with herself to be able to do that. I am so amazed at that. And remember the young man who, when terror was on his doorstep with the tornado suddenly coming into his area, he thought not just of himself, but of his neighbor, or whoever the man was, in the wheelchair, that would not be able to get away fast enough. And he ran to get him and to run him away from danger. You see, there is good in the world, and you are it. In a lot of cases, one smile will make somebody's day. One kind comment can cheer somebody up who maybe is more depressed than you know. So look after one another. But most of all, please remember to look after yourself. Look after your own mental health. Remember to do things that make you smile, or preferably laugh. It's good for the soul. Remember, like myself, to watch what you eat, because otherwise you will pay the price. We can do this together because we have other people that care about us, because we have friends that do care about us, and they show us that on a regular basis. So this is Dear Mama Sal saying, don't lose hope on anything, and help other people not lose hope. However bad their situation, help them have hope, and you will maybe save a life. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you so much for being here. Love you dearly. I'm off to go cook. Bye-bye for now.